Hello, this is Uncle Russ. Welcome to Uncle Russ's Comic Talk. We're going to have some comic books for sale today. You can find them at Lot 22 Sellers on eBay. And we're also going to spend a little bit of time talking about some of the very last works that Stan Lee did in the comic book world before he passed on. Stay tuned.
Hey, what's up, everybody? This is Ming Chen from AMZ's Comic Book Men, and this is a Lock 22 production.
And we're going to start off this week with some Marvel comic goodness all the way back to 1979. X-Men Annual number 3. This one is written by the great Chris Claremont. Sure, one of your favorites if you follow the X-Men, probably the most popular X-Men writer of all time. Artwork by the late, great George Perez. Inks by Terry Austin. They go up against their foe Archon in this one. And it's also notable for those of you that care, Wolverine is wearing his old yellow costume in this one. It can be yours this week for $14.99. Next, we have another X-Men Annual. Skip ahead 2 years to 1981. X-Men Annual number 5, also written by the great Chris Claremont, with artwork by Brent Anderson and Bob McLeod. Brent Anderson did a beautiful cover on this. This one is co-starring the Fantastic Four as they and the X-Men go up against the Brotherhood of Badoon. For those of you who know, in the Marvel Universe, you either have the Brotherhood of Badoon or the Sisterhood of Badoon. There are reptilian species which are totally segregated by gender. How they reproduce is a mystery. But this is a bargain, $5.99. Switching over to DC, we've got Wonder Woman. This is one of the issues in her very first series, issue number 297. This one is from 1982, written by Dan Mishkin with great artwork by Gene Colan, inks by Frank McLaughlin, and an absolutely beautiful cover by Mike Kaluta. There was a backup feature of The Huntress by Joey Cavalieri, Joe Stanton, Sal Trapani. And this also features the free insert that all of the books of that month had. The very first comic book work DC did with the Masters of the Universe franchise, with artwork by Kurt Swan and Dave Hunt. This one can be yours for $12.99. And another DC cover, a beautiful cover by Mike Kaluta. House of Mystery was one of the longest running anthology titles that DC published over the years. Many prominent artists and writers worked on this book through the day. This is when they still had anthology stories, but the main feature was an ongoing series called I, Vampire, written by Dan Mishkin and Gary Cohn, with artwork by Paris Cullens and Tom Sutton. Also features a backup story with artwork by Noli Zamora, written by Sheldon Mayer. This one hosted by Kane, who is your regular monthly host of the House of Mystery. This can be yours for $4.99. Hellblazer number 2, the very first series featuring John Constantine. This was DC 1988, written by Jamie Delano with artwork by John Ridgway. This is some of the creepiest, most disturbing, unsettling, macabre storylines and artwork ever done in comic book history. An absolutely wonderful series. The character of John Constantine has been adapted many times, but it's never been done as well as it was done in the original comic book version. You can't have John Constantine and not have him chain smoking cigarettes, which they tried to get away with on TV. When a major story arc is the character dying of lung cancer and going to hell, you kind of have to have the smoking in there. Anyway, this is a great series, very early issue, number 2, only $5.99. And also a DC, crossing over with their most famous crossover event, Crisis on Infinite Earths. This is Green Lantern, issue number 195, written by Steve Englehart with artwork and cover by Joe Stanton and Bruce Patterson. This one features all three of the main Earthbound Green Lanterns, Hal Jordan, John Stewart, and this is the series and the crossover where Guy Gardner really got his start as a Green Lantern. Possibly my favorite Green Lantern of all of them. He was a real jerk. He was a real jerk, but he also was a hero. This is a good bargain, only $7.99.
Hello, everybody. It's Ben Shrewsbury.
This is Uncle Russ.
And we are the Two Marks from the Two Marks and a Spark Wrestling Show right here on Lock 22. Be sure to check us out every single Sunday and sometimes Monday for all your professional wrestling needs, only on youtube.com/Lock22.
And our last offering for this week, The Daring New Adventures of Supergirl. This is one of my favorite eras of the character. This is my favorite version of her many costume changes. It has a very, very retro look to it. Paul Kupperberg writing, artwork by Carmen Infantino and Bob Oxner, with a great Gil Kane cover. Also at this time, Lois Lane, Superman's girlfriend, no longer had an ongoing title, but she had a backup feature in this comic book. Those stories were written by Joey Cavalieri, Bob Oxner, and Dave Hunt. This is the final days of Julius Schwartz's editorial reign over the Superman titles. So it has his flavor in it. It's a bargain. It can be yours this week for only $9.99. All right, brought something from my personal collection to show you, featuring one of the most popular and successful comic book writers of all time, Stan Lee, co-creator of X-Men, Spider-Man, the Hulk, the Fantastic Four, basically the whole Marvel universe. Well, around 1998-99, he was on the outs with Marvel and was doing some of his own work. It was during this time that he went to work for DC Comics, or as they were always referred to in the Marvel bullpen pages, the Distinguished Competition. Here, Stan Lee was given a chance to kind of put his own creative stamp on traditional DC characters like Batman, Wonder Woman, Superman, and others, in collaboration with some of the best artists in the era. Now, I bought this when it came out in omnibus format and saw how beautiful it was. I did not buy the single issues when they first came out. That was an era that was just extremely overcrowded with gimmicks, and it just reeked so much of gimmick, I didn't think it was worth getting at the time, but it's very much worth investing in. This is 728 pages. I believe it is out of print. It originally retailed for $75. You could probably pick one up secondhand on eBay or Amazon for anywhere from $75 to $100. Contains all 13 of the oversized issues that he created. Want to give you an example of Joe Kubert, one of the greatest artists of all time, in my imagination, most affiliated with Hawkman and Sergeant Rock. He worked with Stan Lee to do his version of Batman, who was known as not Bruce Wayne, but Wayne Williams. Then we also have with Jim Lee, probably my favorite artist from the 90s era, working with Stan Lee to recreate Wonder Woman. And they completely ditched any idea of her being associated with mythology or the Amazons. In this version, her name is Maria Mendoza, and she's from the Aztec Empire. We've also got his version of Superman, done with the great John Buscema. Here, Salden, not Kal-El, but Salden, has some superpowers and more vulnerabilities than the traditional Superman. He is the weakest member of the Kryptonian police force. We also got Stan Lee doing his version of Green Lantern with Dave Gibbons. Here we've got Len Lewis searching for the Tree of Life the world tree, as referred to in Norse mythology, the tree of the knowledge of good and evil, referred to in the book of Genesis. He finds it, and it gives him amazing otherworldly powers. And also take a look. This is his version of The Flash, done with Kevin McGuire. This is Mary Maxwell, Stan Lee's version of The Flash. These were a lot of fun. A lot of writing here. I'm sure that Stan Lee probably had assistance with him. Traditionally at Marvel, I know that Stan Lee usually did the plot and not usually the scripting. I know in the early days it was always his brother Larry Lieber who picked up most of the scripting chores on a lot of his plots. And this is just a fun book. I overlooked it at the time it first came out. It's a lot of fun, and I'd highly recommend you take a look at it. Hopefully you found something that you liked today. If you'd like to purchase any of these books, check for the links in the description below. There'll be more books for sale every week. Lock 22 sellers on eBay. Lock 22. Have a good day. Lock.